You sold your business for $50 million in under 18 months. What opportunity did you see that somehow everyone else must have missed?
Focusing on just having a great product with great customer service. When you make a lot of money, it's really cool at first, but then it very quickly just becomes your new baseline and you're looking to what's next. Imagine your customer is going out of business, like they're running out of money. What's the last piece of software that they're going to cancel before they go bankrupt? You want that to be yours. When you're in the early ideation phases, you want to be talking to your customer avatar as much as you possibly can. Get revenue as fast as you can. It doesn't matter what you have to do. At the end of the day, you just got to do whatever it takes and make sure that you get that product off the ground. Make your customers hooked on whatever your product is, and you'll have a great business.
Okay, in this episode, I talked to Kieran, and this was actually a great episode. This guy owns a software called Genie, which helps automate things in auto repair businesses, and he built and sold this business for $50 million in 18 months. This is absolutely insane. Now, I actually met him at Cornell. I go to school here, and he was actually doing like a guest lecture type thing at one of the entrepreneurship groups that I'm in at Cornell, and I was like, I gotta have this guy on the podcast. This is a pretty sick story. So I used a bit of my juggling talent to get his attention, and that worked. And yeah, had him on the podcast. Now, what I think is really cool about this is I know a lot of the episodes that you guys watch are mainly centered around social media. Like I think the top 3 or 4 podcasts that I have on my channel are all about YouTube automation. But this guy actually uses some less well-known, less sexy versions of social media to acquire over 3,000 customers. Again, just serving people in the auto repair industry. So this was a really cool episode, actually getting a hands-on understanding of how he managed to grow this business this quickly. And so without further ado, please enjoy the show. Okay, so you sold your business for $50 million in under 18 months. What opportunity did you see that somehow everyone else must have missed?
Yeah. I think in business, there's a lot of situations like that where there's kind of a huge opportunity hidden in plain sight. I think it really just comes down to having, number one, the awareness to identify them. And then number 2 is the boldness to go and chase them. You think about, if you really boil it down to first principles, it's pretty simple, right? You think about something even like something as crazy as like Elon Musk and Tesla, right? Like cars are burning fossil fuels. There's a limited amount of fossil fuels on the earth, but we're dependent on road transportation. There must be a better way to make cars, right? And his whole idea was, I can mass produce electric vehicles. And, I'm sure dozens or hundreds or thousands of people have had that same idea before he did, but he's the one that went in and executed on it. And so on a much smaller scale, Elon's one of my idols, obviously. On a much smaller scale for us, it was like, hey, why can I book an appointment for a nail salon or a restaurant online, but I can't book an appointment to get my car serviced online, right? And it was just something as simple as that my business partner and I stumbled across. We're like, wait a second, there might be something here. And so I think there's a lesson in there for entrepreneurs to not overcomplicate it and to just keep your eyes open always when you're out there in the world and think about problems that you're encountering and think about them from a first principle standpoint.
Is that how you literally started Genie? Like you were looking for auto repair shops, you couldn't find one, or you couldn't book an appointment on like whatever website you found, and you were like, bro, what the hell?
Yeah. Yes and no. We knew that we wanted to start a software business in the auto repair industry. And so what it really was is we were looking for a wedge. We were looking for a Trojan horse, if you will, something to get our foot in the door with these auto repair shops. And that's when we discovered, hey, they don't have an easy way to take online appointments. When we started talking to these guys, they were like, oh, well, we can't do that because we only take appointments before 10 a.m. And we need to see the car in person before we give a diagnosis or a price. And we don't let people wait in our waiting room past noon. And there was all these like very specific rules and kind of unique blockers that they had within their decision-making tree of, when and how to take in a vehicle to their business. And none of these other tools like, Calendly or Acuity or any of these tools that were out there for scheduling, they didn't accommodate for that. And so we would go back to these business owners and be like, okay, well, that doesn't mean that you can't take online appointments. It just means that you need a tool that can block people after noon and only take certain makes and models of vehicles and doesn't give a price, right? And they were like, well, yeah, but that doesn't exist, you know? And so that was kind of as simple as it was.
Okay, so then it became very obvious that you knew. And did you confirm in advance that that's something they would be willing to pay for?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most important things is
Mhm.
talking to customers and doing market research ahead of time. So, um, when you're in the early ideation phases, you want to be talking to your customer avatar as much as you possibly can, and you also want to take everything that they say with a grain of salt, which is kind of paradoxical, but you want to go out and pressure test the things that they tell you, because
Mhm.
sometimes your potential customers will tell you that they want something, but there's actually a hidden meaning underneath it. And they actually want something else. They just don't know how to articulate it properly, right? They don't even know what's possible with technology. They don't even know what you're capable of doing. And so you need to boil, again, first principles. You need to boil everything they're saying down to the root cause of what's uh, causing them to say that thing, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things that founders miss in a lot of
Yeah.
cases.
No, I definitely think that's true. Like you'll have someone you talk to. I've definitely noticed this with some kind of like a social media, management business that I'm working on, and like someone will say they're willing to pay for something, but then when it comes to actually pulling out the credit card, it's like a completely different story. So I do think testing that in like small ways, if you can, is really good. But so okay, you got Shop Genie, you realized okay this will work, and then is that the first thing you started developing? Just the calendar feature?
Yeah, that was kind of the first tool that we developed. We always knew that we were going to expand into additional products eventually,
Mhm.
but I think it's really important to stay focused in the early days. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, and there's this concept of what we call a compound startup or a multi-product startup, where you end up building multiple products pretty early on, but you still need kind of that early days MVP, that one thing that's going to kind of get you your initial traction, your initial, 5, 10, 15 customers, and a little bit of revenue, ideally to show product market fit. And then
Mhm.
you almost earn the right to build product number two. And then when product number two
I see.
finds product market fit and success, then you earn the right to build product number three, and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of the framework that I like to think about it
I
through.
see. So how did you go about actually developing it?
So this was my second software startup. My first one, I also sold, but it was much less glamorous. We basically sold it for just the amount of money that we raised. And
Mhm.
so, my co-founder and I didn't make a lot of money on that deal. And so we learned a lot of lessons the hard way running that first business. And through that experience, I learned what to look for in software engineers. I learned how to find them and how not to find them, and what not to look for in software developers. And so, yeah, we hired a team of software developers, a small team of 2 or 3 guys in the early days. They were contractors; they were not full time with us, and that's how we kind of just scraped together an early MVP and got it to work well enough for our customers to pay for it, and then continued to hire more software engineers over time and continue to grow the team.
Yeah. Was that expensive to get something like that developed?
Um, I mean, it depends on your definition of expensive. I
Yeah,
think
true.
for as far as software goes, not really. But we had a couple things going for us. Number one is we were already running a profitable bootstrap business before that, so we had a little bit of money saved up.
Mhm.
This is also, keep in mind, this is back in 2021 when we didn't have all these AI copilot code assistants and Lovable and all these crazy products that we have
Yeah.
now. Um, I think what we built back in 2021 could be rebuilt today in 2025 for an eighth of the price, which is
Mhm.
crazy. So, and I think, all in, our MVP maybe cost us 40 grand to build.
Mhm.
And so you do the math on that. I'm talking like a couple $1,000s to get like a similar type product up and running with some of the tools that we have access to today. So we've come a long way in the world of software development, I think, since then. Um, and then again, we had that money because we were running a business in the same industry doing marketing services. So we were a marketing agency before pivoting into a software company. And so that was one thing we had going for us is number one, we had contacts with these potential customers.
Right.
And number two is we had cash flow to fund it. right?
Mhm.
And so I think that's really important. Again, there's a lesson in there for entrepreneurs is get revenue as fast as you can. It doesn't matter what you have to do. You could go do consulting on the side, work a full-time job. Try not to, um, if you're going to go out and spend a bunch of time fundraising, do it once you have some traction. You're going to be
Yeah.
banging your head against the wall trying to fundraise if you try to do it with no traction. It's better for you to go out and just try to fund it yourself, whether you're working a job or you save up a little bit of money.
Oh.
I don't care if you have to go mow lawns, shovel snow, or do part-time babysitting. At the end of the day, you just got to do whatever it takes, and make sure that you get that product off the ground.
What I'm getting is that like the marketing, so like it seems like Shop Genie now is like pretty passive, right? When you sign someone up, like it might take a bit to like set up the exact specifications they want, like with the first car shop you did, for example, like getting the make and model. But the marketing agency, I assume, was a lot more hands-on. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, software is infinitely scalable, right?
Yeah.
So, within reason, of course, we have a customer service team and a training team and all of that.
Mhm.
But for all intents and purposes, somebody could come and sign up for Shop Genie today and not talk to a human and just start using it, right? And, theoretically, we could scale that to infinity. And that's the beauty of software versus when you're selling a service like a marketing service, you're being kind of re-evaluated in terms of the value that you're bringing to your clients on a monthly basis. They're
Mhm.
deciding if they should fire you or continue to work with you every single month when that bill hits. And so the cool thing is if you can build a piece of software that becomes like a dependent part of their day-to-day life and they literally can't live without it because
Mhm.
their customers can't do business with them without it. That's one of the best places you can be in as a software company.
Yeah. Well, can I tell you a funny thing that happened? Have you heard of the company 8 Sleep?
Yeah, of course. I have
Okay.
one right
Oh,
here in the
okay.
background.
I'm very curious to hear your review on it. I was looking into it and I was like deciding, whether or not I should get one. And like all the reviews of this, you know what I'm about to say already, are about the fact that once you get the Eat Sleep mattress, to be able to use all of the functions that they already have built into it, you have to pay like an ongoing monthly subscription.
Yep.
And that's one that like I know for sure if I got an Eat Sleep mattress, I would never stop paying for because I'm never gonna stop using the features that it has. And it's not like I'm going to stop sleeping either. You know what I mean? It's something I
Yeah.
do every day.
It's the same with Whoop, the bands.
Uh,
They give you the band for free, and then you just have to pay the subscription. But yeah, this is a concept. It's called a control point, right? Like if you can embed yourself or your product into your customer's life and make them dependent on it, no different than what the big tobacco companies did in the 1900s. It's like make your customers hooked on whatever your product is, and you'll have a great business, a very profitable business. And so in software, you want to be what we call a control point. You want to be something that is very hard to rip out. And the mental model that we like to use in the vertical software world is imagine your customer is going out of business, like they're running out of money, they can't make payroll. What's the last piece of software that they're going to cancel before they go bankrupt?
mhm.
You want that to be yours.
I see. I see. And that's like the exact opposite of a marketing agency. Like if a company's not profitable, the first thing that goes is marketing so that they can
Yep,
still sustain the rest of the business, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. But this is more like bookings, like that stuff they have to do if they have any clients. Okay. So how did you go about, I guess you already had a decent client base from your marketing stuff, but how did you go about acquiring clients past that? And I especially want to hear about the Facebook group.
Yeah. So again, you guys will hear this me say this throughout this podcast, but first principles, boil everything down to the most basic fundamental level. So I was thinking to myself one day, I was like, all right, the average auto repair shop owner is 56 years old in the Bible Belt of the United States, right? So, the Midwest, the middle of the East Coast, like that's where most of these auto repair shops are, along I-95 on the East Coast, and that's where a lot of these blue collar kind of brick and mortar businesses are located. It's like, okay, so I know roughly what my avatar is. I know he likes to watch NFL football. I know he likes to hang out and drink Miller Lite on the weekends. Like I know who this person is,
Hmm.
right? So now, where do they spend their time? Specifically online, because I'm not going to be able to go door knock on every single of the 200,000 auto repair shops in the US. So if I want big distribution, I want to do it over the internet. I know who my avatar is. So let's connect the dots. Where does that avatar spend time on the internet? And the answer is Facebook. So
Mm-hmm.
my avatar is not on TikTok. They're not on Twitter. They're not on Instagram. They're on Facebook. Okay. Now, how do I find them on Facebook? Well, a lot of people have already done the work for me. There's all these groups. Facebook groups are massive. And actually, I think Facebook groups are making a resurgence right now because what's happened is um, Instagram and TikTok and X are so algorithmic now. They're so algorithm driven and it's all kind of like dopamine. They're more entertainment now than social. I think a lot of the popular apps today have now pivoted towards more of an entertainment angle than they are social. And so people are now ending up back on platforms like Facebook to get their fix of social interaction with people that they actually know in real life,
Mm-hmm.
because these other platforms have gone away from it. So TLDR, I
Right.
think Facebook has a couple of great products that are keeping them afloat right now. One of them is Marketplace. Another one is groups. And so Facebook groups are very active. And some of our competitors at the time had already built up these Facebook groups with hundreds or thousands of auto repair shop owners. So they had already gathered them into like a town square, like a virtual town square, if you will. They've already put all my targets in one place, right? They've done the hard work for me. And so what I did is I went and bought one of the smaller Facebook groups. I reached out to the guy that owned it. I paid him a few $1,000s for him to transfer admin ownership to me. And then I went in under a fake alias to all of these other Facebook groups that my competitors had started. And I just started siphoning all the members out of their groups into my group. So I would friend request them. I would invite them to my group. I would PM them and say, hey, you should join this group. And over time, we went from 1,000 members to today over 10,000 members. And it's the largest, most active community of auto repair shop owners on the internet now. And that was a massive driver of growth for us in the early days for two reasons. Number one is we could control the narrative in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go into our Facebook group, you might think that we have no competitors because it's just all about us. It's all about Shop Genie when we come up, right? But then the other thing is the majority of the community is actually not focused on us at all. We kept our company out of the limelight. We let the shop owners have this kind of safe space for them to talk about their problems, their hiring issues, like whatever they want to talk about in there. And it became like a really great supportive community for them to talk to like-minded people. And so for that reason, it became really easy for us to reach out to them because it kind of felt like they owed us one for collecting all these people in one place and giving them a community to be a part of. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we reach out to them and try to talk to them about our products or our services, it was very rare that they ever decline that offer. So
Yeah, that makes the leads so much warmer, especially if you're owner of the group. They're probably like, oh my god, the guy like hit me up. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Well,
exactly.
I totally echo everything you said here. Like, first of all, every algorithm is going from like follower based to just retention based. So instead of like you getting shown whoever your friends were, whoever you were following, it's all just about retention. And that's actually, I guess, from my standpoint of like someone who's like made mostly all my money through social media, kind of refreshing. It's a little bit it can be a little much that everything is just based on like keeping you on the app all the time, and that it's cool that people are going back.
Yeah,
Do you still own the group?
yeah, I do.
Oh wow, okay. And are you still acquiring customers through there?
Yeah, you know, when you get to scale, like we're over 10 million in revenue today, we have over 3,000 customers. When you get to that kind of scale, your go to market becomes more distributed. So the way that you get and attract customers and the marketing funnel gets a lot wider.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of like a percentage of revenue and a percentage of leads, it's much less than it was when we were in the early days. Um, but yeah, we still get tons of business from it. Um, and it's still a great resource for us to do marketing and get the eyeballs of our avatar. But yeah, in the early days, especially like when you're sub 1 million in revenue and you're like a pre-seed seed stage company, getting some sort of sense of community. And again, this could mean so many things to so many different founders, whether you're a B2C founder, a B2B founder, a social app founder, a physical product founder. It doesn't matter. Community is everything. You can get your ideal archetype of customer into one place, whether physically or virtually, and get
Mhm.
them to build a community around each other, right? That's going to be one of the most high leverage things you can do as a founder.
Yeah, because you still get all the credit for it, but you now no longer have to
Yeah,
do any of the work really of making sure that they're connected.
exactly.
So do you still do that much marketing at this point, or can you have you reached a mass where you can basically just grow through word of mouth and you don't even have to do much?
Yeah, I would say the majority of our growth has been through word of mouth. And to be honest, that's how every business should grow. There's, of course, there's always marketing. We're always running ads. We're always doing campaigns. We're doing stuff like that all the time. But I think the best businesses in the world thrive and grow primarily off of word of mouth. It's no different than when you and your friends create a group chat, and there's that one friend that has an Android and they make it green, and you all bully him and tell him to get an iPhone, right? That's word of mouth marketing that Apple has engineered, right?
Mhm.
And say with Tesla, right? Tesla owners are like the most insufferable people out there. And, you know, I'm sensationalizing a bit. I actually own a Tesla, and I tell everybody that they should buy one, right? And that's how powerful it is, right? Because it's a great product. And I want people to experience what I experienced by owning one. And so I think if you think about that on the massive scale of companies like Apple and Tesla, how can you as a founder make your product so good or so viral that your customers want to tell their friends about it when there's nothing actually in it for them from like a monetary standpoint, right?
Mm.
How can you just make them want to share this with other people?
Yeah, okay. I gotta say, first things, if I when I've never seen a Cybertruck and not gone, oh, it's a Cybertruck. Look,
Yeah,
like, so that's
yeah,
that's like the virality aspect. But yeah, I think there's actually two important elements because one is just okay, your product has to be good for someone to actually refer their friend to it and tell them to do it. But on the other hand, you can also do a product that's just viral. Like I think a Cybertruck might be an humbly an example of that.
yeah,
Don't kill me for saying that, but it's like it is definitely just kind of a hunky metal box,
yeah,
which the value of that is dubious and like pretty expensive for what it's worth. The value of that is dubious, but it stands out so much on the road that whenever I
yeah,
see it, I have to tell people that I saw it. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So, did you focus on engineering virality, word of mouth into Shop Genie as well as I know you made the product good, but did you
Yeah.
also make it viral?
Not intentionally. We just tried to make the product really good.
Mhm.
And another thing in the B2B world, I think this comes across to consumer as well, but specifically in B2B, great customer service is one of the best ways to engineer virality and word of mouth. Because what matters more than product is experience. Customer
Mhm.
experience is everything in business. And you look at companies like Disney or the Ritz Carlton or Virgin Airlines with Richard Branson, or the 11 Madison Park restaurant in New York City. The book Unreasonable Hospitality was written by the owner of that restaurant. Any of the great businesses, whether you're a restaurant or a chain of hotels or an amusement park or a B2B software company, if you can create great, incredible, next level customer experiences for your customers, they're naturally going to want to tell their friends and family about it. They're going to want to recommend that because as humans, we want our loved ones, our friends and family to have the same great experiences that we have. It's just like an innate thing that we want, right? And so if we have a great experience somewhere, we're going to naturally be inclined to tell our friends and family about it because we
Mhm.
want them to have the best version of whatever that is, right? And so focusing on just having a great product with great customer service will naturally create this loop of word of mouth and kind of this viral effect amongst your target
Mhm.
audience.
Yeah. I was at Panera like 2 days ago and they messed up my order. Or like did we ordered this thing with like Asiago bagel or whatever
Yeah.
and they were like is this your order? I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "I'm sorry, we don't have the bagel." And I was like, "Oh." And I got my order. They threw in extra chips for both me and my friend. And then at the end when we were leaving, they offered us cookies for free. And so even on a thing where they mess something up, I have a full memory of that as like an unbelievably positive experience.
And now you're talking about it here on this
Panera,
podcast in
yeah,
front of
shut up.
however many people. And somebody listening to this podcast might go to Panera now because you just said that, right? And that is truly like that is a real life example of how important it is to have a great customer experience. And it starts at the top and it bleeds down to the rest of your organization as a leader, as a founder. Um, Great customer experience trickles down, but the key is bad customer experience does too. If you're a
Hmm.
founder
Hmm.
or a CEO or a leader in your organization and you don't care about your customers and you don't obsess over them and you give bad experiences, that's also going to trickle down and your employees are going to follow suit. And so
Yeah.
that's the really important part.
Yeah, and then you're going to be constantly spinning your wheels with marketing just to
Yeah.
have a product that people will drop off of anyways. So
Exactly.
how do you, especially at scale, how do you ensure good customer service? Because you have 3,000 customers at this point. You can't go to each one of them and deal with every single problem they have. How do you make sure that they still get a perfect experience every time?
Yeah, well, it's not perfect. It's never
Mm.
perfect. But I think that's actually a great place to start my answer here, which is own up to your mistakes and make it right. You're gonna mess up all the time. Companies like when Panera runs out of your favorite bagel, like every business messes up and screws something up, and sometimes it's really bad, sometimes it's not that bad. But either way, take ownership, take accountability. Customers really appreciate that and then
Hmm.
make up for it. So there's a policy, I believe the Ritz Carlton has this, where every employee at the Ritz Carlton, doesn't matter if you are a janitor or the manager of the hotel, every employee has either $1,000 or $2,000 stipends that they're allowed to use to make things right for a customer. So your room's dirty,
Mm.
they can upgrade you. You find like a stain on your pillow, they can give you an additional night free or send you free room service or whatever. Like they can use this money that they have that allocated without getting approval from their boss or anything like that. They can use that credit to make the guest experience better for that guest,
Wow, yeah.
right?
All the way down to the level of janitor. I
Yeah.
did not know that.
So that is one of the things that we implemented at our company too, which is we just empowered our employees at every step of the way. You need to do whatever you need to do to make this right. Buy them a gift, send them flowers, send them cookies, buy pizza for the entire auto repair shop and all the mechanics in the back. Like whatever you got to do, make sure that when people think about Shop Genie, they have a positive emotion associated with it. And I think, you know, people overcomplicate this and they try to get into the weeds of like how exactly do you engineer a great customer experience. What it really comes down to, Bennett, is hiring people that care, right? Because to your point, as the founder, I can't make sure personally that every single one of my 3,000 customers has a great experience. It's just not possible. I don't have enough hours in the day to do that.
Mhm.
What I do have control over is the attitude and mindset of the people that I hire and how I show up for them. So if I walk into the office every day and I'm obsessed with customers and I'm calling customers and I'm making things right and I'm sending gift baskets and pizza boxes to the shops, my employees are going to see that. They're going to mimic me, especially if I power them to do so.
Yeah.
And then they become managers and they start hiring people and they hire people and they look for those same traits. And it's a snowball effect. And so hiring optimistic, positive people that actually care about their jobs and actually care about their customers is one of the easiest ways to ensure that your customer experience stays the same across the entire organization because customer obsession is cultural. It's in the DNA of the company. The company either is customer obsessed or isn't. And it all starts with the founder.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. How do you ensure the whole way? How? Sorry, I had a question and I lost it, but
No worries.
I have another question. um, I want to go back to the app for a second because we've talked a lot about like the different customers and like how you ensure a good experience and how you acquired a bunch of these customers. But during this whole thing, you went from your MVP stage where it just has the calendar bookings to now it has so much more functionality. What else did you add across that thing to make this more valuable to customers?
Yeah, we just added all the things that uh, that would make our customers' lives easier. And there is a level of like, looking at the competition a little bit and saying, hey, what do they have? We could build something similar or better. But we actually tried not to look too much at our competition. We tried to innovate as much as we could. So we would talk to our customers and say, hey, what problems are you facing? And be like, oh, well, um, you know, I'm with uh, I'm with AT&T for my VoIP phone system, and they drop calls all the time, and the call recordings are super grainy, and it's really hard to train my team how to sell over the phone because I can't get to my recordings, right? And so we're like, okay, great, we'll build a phone product and build a bunch of
Mm.
cool AI coaching into it, right? And we applied the same logic to everything else, and they were like, "Oh, you know what? I'm working with this marketing agency, and they're charging me $2,000 a month for a website. It's ridiculous. It's like highway robbery." And we're like, "Okay, great. We'll build a website product and start offering websites." And so we just kind of went through that decision tree of, hey, what falls within our wheelhouse of things that make sense in our ecosystem of products, and that's also solving a real problem for our customers. And that's ultimately how we decided to build the products that we built.
Hmm. Okay. So at this point, it's now basically like an all-in-one tool for businesses
Yeah. Yeah,
to
exactly.
capture leads. Okay. So in that case, something I want to get back to as well is you said in the Facebook groups, like you were able to kind of gather, your competitors' uh, customer base. So who are your competitors right now? Because I definitely have one that comes to mind.
Yeah, most of our competitors are like vertical solutions. So like
Mhm.
most people listening to this podcast wouldn't know them. It is a very competitive industry, but most of our competitors are only focused on auto repair shops. And so it's like
Oh
really
wow. Okay.
yeah, only auto repair shops would really know the name of our competitors. So there's that. But then we do have some more horizontal competitors. Like we have customers that are using Ring Central or Podium, or they'd be using like some big marketing company, or they're using like Acuity or HubSpot or something big
Mhm.
like that. That's not auto repair specific, and that's another big opportunity for founders. Is if you find business owners that have very kind of unique and nuanced ways of doing things, workflows within their business, and they're using like kind of a generic software solution for that, there might be an opportunity there.
Mhm.
Because what we call like vertical software that's focused on a specific niche, a specific industry, and solving those problems really deeply, those are some of the biggest opportunities in software today.
Mhm.
Um, because these players like HubSpot, who kind of service any and all businesses, they're never going to be able to get deep enough into the problem that a verticalized solution is able to.
Yeah. And so wait, so all of your customers still are just auto repair shops, or have
Yeah,
you? Wow. Okay.
and they
That's
always will be.
okay.
Yeah,
That's so surprising to
yeah,
me. I thought you did scale out a bit past that, but and does so okay. The one I was thinking of was go high level.
yeah,
I'm sure you yeah. So I've seen so many videos of kids saying like, oh, here's how to make $10,000 a month as a teenager. Just download Go High Level, resell it for $2,000 a month, acquire 5 clients, and there you
yeah,
go, 10K a month. It seems like this is doing a similar thing, but for auto repair shops
yeah.
specifically.
So we actually, I told you I ran a marketing agency before
Mm,
Shop Genie. We used High Level, so I was one of the first
mm,
100 customers of High Level. I used to talk to Sean, the founder,
wow,
on the
that's
phone
crazy.
like every week, and yeah, they're an incredible business. But yeah, they're more horizontal. They service all industries, and they're more like a white label solution.
Hmm.
Um, and so, we used High Level for a while, but it wasn't able to do the very specific things in the auto repair
That.
industry that we needed to do. So,
Mm. Okay, gotcha. And then, so at this point, also, I want to ask about social media. So, pretty much everyone that watches me, or like all my stuff, again, they're super social media focused. If you look at the top podcasts, all of them are about someone who did YouTube automation right now. Um, but
yeah,
I was gonna ask, like, what other aspects? Because Facebook is so hidden. There's such a gem, in my opinion, uh, from this podcast. But like, how else do you use social media to acquire clients? Is Facebook really just the main space?
That was the main one. The funny thing, I mean, Facebook kind of started social media, which is hilarious that it's now like the least relevant
The
one.
boomer, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, so my background is actually like in social media. Like I started my career doing social media marketing and building up a following on YouTube and Instagram. And I actually ran my first software company was a influencer marketing, like social media influencer software product. And so I know the space very well. But ultimately, I decided that, I saw a much larger opportunity. Again, those kind of unsexy, unobvious problems are almost exclusively in B2B, right? The
Mm.
cooler the business is, the cooler the industry is, most likely the harder it is to make money in it, right?
Mhm.
Especially as a young person, right? Social media is cool and fun and interesting, really hard to make money, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the framework that I think people should think about it through is like the less sexy the problem, the more money there probably is in it.
Mhm. Wait, so what were you doing before specifically?
Yeah, so I built a software platform called MediaKits.com. So they were digital resumes, digital media kits for social media influencers that would aggregate all their data across platform. So
Mm.
if a brand reaches out to you and they want to pay for a promotion or a brand deal on Instagram, but you also have a large TikTok or YouTube following, you would be able to send them your media kit with your rate cards, your engagement
Ah,
rates,
okay.
all of your demographic metrics on every platform, and then you could show previous brand deals that you've done and all sorts of other information. And yeah, that business that was my first software company that I launched when I was 19. We scaled it up to like 30,000 users. And then we eventually sold it to an influencer marketing agency up in Canada. And yeah, again, it wasn't like a super, super glamorous or successful exit, but it was definitely like a really cool product and a great learning experience for me as a founder to get to kind of earn my wings or earn my stripes, so to speak, to go on and build Shop Genie.
Yeah. Is that when did you get into entrepreneurship? Because this is insane to me, like
Yeah.
building all this stuff this young.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can remember, I was a kid in, my freshman, sophomore year of high school. I started a wedding videography company where, I had a couple DSLR cameras and I would advertise on Craigslist and I would show up at weddings and like take videos of the ceremony and the after party and like edit them and sell it for $1,500. So I was like a budget wedding videographer. Um, and,
That's not even a bad gig though, honestly, for that.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's not bad. And yep, I always had all sorts of hustles growing up, and I feel like I've been an entrepreneur as long as I can remember.
Okay, so wait, I'm actually very curious. Could you walk me through like your whole journey from that
Yeah,
into getting here? Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So, yeah, like 15, 16, started flipping sneakers on eBay. So I'd use like those Nike like sneaker bots, like the Chrome
Oh
extensions
yeah.
and like that snipe the drops and then resell them on eBay for a couple
Mhm.
$100 profit. Um, the wedding videography business, that was the next one. Um, and then I, uh, I started getting into marketing. And so I started actually working at an auto repair shop my senior year of high school. We had like a capstone project, which was like we got like a month off of school to go like do an internship somewhere. And there was this guy in my hometown that I knew of who was very successful. And I come from like a middle class town. There weren't a ton of entrepreneurs or people with like fancy cars or anything.
Mhm.
And this guy drove a Ferrari, and I'm a big car guy. My dream as a kid was to own a Ferrari. And so I cold emailed him. He was like, "Yeah, you can work for me." So I actually went and kind of got mentored by him. And he owned a chain of 11 auto repair shops that he sold for tens of millions of dollars. Um, and I got to work for him and see firsthand how outdated all of his systems were. And so
Mhm.
that's when I started doing marketing for his business and I started doing marketing for a bunch of other businesses. And that was in 2017. And then in 2019, I started my first software company with one of
Mhm.
my friends. That was Media Kits.
Wait, so
Um,
when you first started marketing for him,
yeah.
what did you do?
Yeah, it was like Google pay-per-click. So I was running Google ad campaigns. I was doing
Mhm.
web development. So I would like update the pages on the website and write blogs and stuff like that, and manage the social media pages of this auto repair shop.
Okay. Were you able to get a lot of clients through uh like social media posts on that?
Um, I got a lot of clients through referrals. So like that business owner would refer me to his friends. So I
Okay.
had like two other auto repair shops in the same town that I was from that he was friends with that I also did marketing for.
I see, I see.
And I would charge them like a couple $1,000s a month each to do this. And so by the time I was 18, when I graduated high school, I was making like 150, 200 grand a year in revenue.
Mhm.
Um, and that's when I decided not to go to college and to kind of bet on myself and go all in on just entrepreneurship and business.
Yeah. Was it a worth it return for them as well? Like were they seeing a direct return on that $2,000-3,000 a month that they were spending from posting on social media and running the Google ads?
Yeah, I mean the ads were generating leads for sure. And the other thing is, as an 18-year-old kid, I was able to undercut anybody else that came in that was trying to sell their
Yeah.
services. Like all the big marketing agencies that have tons of staff and overhead, or if if you guys were thinking about hiring someone full time, you're talking about a 60, $70,000 a year position for someone to come in and be like a marketing director for this business. So I was a deal at 2K.
Yeah.
For most of these businesses, yeah.
Is this something that you can still snipe people that need this service, or is it too saturated now?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of open space, greenfield opportunity. I think for small business digital marketing services, I think it's changed a lot. If I was to start from scratch today, I do think a services business is the best first business for anybody to start. Still to this day, I would probably use High Level because it's so powerful. There's tons of really cool stuff in there, and I would probably do a lot of stuff with AI. So there's a lot of like AI web development tools out there now that you could really help these businesses by utilizing. There's a lot of like content generation AI that's out there, and so running a marketing agency today would look very different than kind of the service fulfillment that I did back in
Yeah.
2017. But I think it's even more powerful now, which is really cool.
Yeah. One thing I want to show you something based on that. I'll share my screen real quick. But
Sure.
one thing I actually was thinking about when you came to Cornell and presented is like that I've been thinking about a lot is that being at the front of AI is going to be like super important going forward. So I've spent actually like the past, probably a good week just studying this in terms of content. Again, there's so many ways that you can take it, but let me pull this up real quick. Here, I might have him cut this part out while I pull this
No
up.
worries. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you got here.
No, yeah, you'll see. Okay. So, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, take a look at this for just a second.
This guy? Well,
Here we
my
go.
name is. In this video, I'm going to show you how to earn money with Snapchat, the requirements, the shortcuts, and all the secret methods the biggest creators are using to make the most money possible.
Now, do you notice anything fishy about that?
No.
Okay, well, that means I did a good job because this is
Oh,
AI
is this
generated.
AI?
Yeah,
No
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Wait, let me look again. Hang on.
It's very hard to tell, but look at my lips, and you should be able to tell. It should be a
So
giveaway.
you used like a voice generation.
That's not all.
Yeah, yeah. I'll explain it, but here, look.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to earn money with Snapchat, the requirements, the shortcuts, and all the secret methods the biggest creators are using to make the
Wow, this
most
is
money
so
possible.
good.
But that's not all. At the end, I'm even going to show you how much money I've made with Snapchat with 350,000 followers. And in
Yeah.
case
Wait, okay, so which part of this did you edit yourself, or like
Sorry,
is this
yeah.
all?
Yeah, to be clear, the editing was done by a human, not me, but
Okay,
by a
okay.
human. But the face, like any video portion of me and the voice were both AI generated. So essentially, I could just feed in a script, get the voice output, and then turn that into the video output as well, and then just edit the video from there. So I can show you the original here. Here, let me just walk
That's
you through the whole process
insane.
because I know
Yeah.
this is something I've been cooking like in the background, and it's pretty crazy.
I'm so glad somebody took action from that talk. This is
Yeah,
gonna
I know,
be
I know.
next level.
So, okay, here. So, right, I went on 11 labs. Now, what I noticed is it's actually really hard to train a voice to get it the exact way that you want. Um, what I found that really worked after like multiple days of like, trying a, recording a different voice, trying it, seeing if it worked or not, was you really have to record a script in the exact same tonality and excitement the whole way through. So the problem, right, is like normally in an intro to a video, I might be more excited. And then in the middle of the video, I'm like less excited. Because in the intro, I'll be like, in this video, but like you can't do that. You have to be the exact same tonality the whole way through. So I took my intro voice. I took like a script of a video that I already made, and then I just read that whole script, but in my intro voice the entire time. So it was like high excitement the entire time, so that the voice trained correctly. And I got this as the output. Yeah, right here.
Oh, I can't hear it.
Oh shoot! Here, I'll play it. So
I need audio.
My bad. My bad. Um, so that got me this. In this video, I'm going to show you how to earn money with Snapchat. The requirements. And that was like, oh, I was like, oh my God, that sounds exactly like me. That's crazy. And then I went to HeyGen. And
Is that for the face stuff?
Yeah, and that's for the face stuff. So all you have to do for this is upload like a 2-minute video of you talking. Again, it took a couple of tries to get it exactly right with like getting the hand gestures and the face and everything right. In this video, but yeah.
That's you're just saying random stuff in this video?
In the 2-minute video that I uploaded as like to train it on, yeah, I was just saying random stuff. Like I was just, saying a random script. But it's more just to get the visual than it is the audio.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy.
Then you upload the audio to HeyGen and it syncs everything up. So this is when I uploaded the audio. This is what I got. In this video, I'm going to show you how to earn money with Snapchat. The requirements, the shortcuts, and all the secret methods the biggest creators are using to make the most money possible. Yeah. But
that's awesome. I love it.
So one business idea I had, there's so many different business ideas that I have like stemming off of this one thing. The first thing that I'm trying to implement ASAP is like I can just, instead of ever recording a professional video again, I just record like kind of brain vomit videos where I'm, talking on the screen and doing stuff, and then I just have some guy essentially refine that script, do it with the professional video camera, etc., and then just upload that video.
Yeah.
So that's idea number one. Idea number two that I'm actually really interested in pursuing. I'd be curious how you would approach this if you were me, since you pretty much already have experience doing this. Is I was thinking of going to people who are like already established authors or people who are only doing written content right now, and essentially just explaining to them how to train the perfect, explaining to them how they can send me footage to train the perfect video and audio, getting that set up for them, and then just running their YouTube channel basically off of the written content they already put out.
Yeah, I would do that. Yeah, I would go to people that are already putting content out there and just say, hey, I can 10x your content output with no additional work. Like, I wouldn't focus on people that are doing written content because that's a higher barrier to entry to get them to set up a camera and all that.
Yeah,
I would go to people that are already filming content, and then just like the pitch is, hey, I can 10x your content output overnight. Mm-hmm. Like, just pay me and I'll do it for you. Mm-hmm. And like, I would pay for that. Like that's
you want to be my first client?
I could be. Yeah, I'm thinking about coming back out and launching my personal brand at some point.
Yeah, soon, actually, that's a great place to pivot to because I actually was curious about that myself. Yeah. Do you have a personal brand? Like, have you focused on it at all?
I did, but I've kind of I kind of went dark on social media when I started Shop Genie, actually, because I realized like, my customers aren't on there, and it was a distraction. And I think for most founders, social media is a distraction. Unless your business is social media, I think that's the only exception. I think social media is purely a distraction. And so I spent the first 5-6 years of my career in the social media space, chronically online, like just dopamine rush, getting like seeing everything always. And it was kind of a combination of, number one, I wanted to just be able to buckle down and focus on my business. Um, and number two, I just became less inclined to want to share my life with the world. I just felt like more called to be more private, more out of the spotlight, and like not have thousands of people know everything that I'm doing all day.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't really intentional at first. And then as I used social media less and less, I began to like it. And then I took it a step further and just deactivated my account on Instagram and deleted all the apps off my phone. And that's kind of where I'm still at today.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
Now that I've sold the business, I'm rethinking that a little bit to figure out, like, is that actually the best way to think about this, or am I missing out on opportunities? And so I'm kind of in the middle of that kind of self-discovery journey right now.
How did your life change when you just deleted your social media? Did it
Uh,
improve?
w- yeah, I mean, way more focus, way more presence. Like, I think another thing is people aren't always uh, aware of how much time they spend on these apps. Even if you have like a screen time tracker or whatever, it doesn't really register in your brain until you delete all the apps off your phone and you're sitting in an airport waiting for your flight to board, or you're like sitting on the bus on your way to school or whatever it is, and you pull your phone out and you start like looking for the app and you can't find it because you deleted it. You're like, and you catch yourself from like, what am I doing? Like, is this just impulsive? This isn't even. I'm not even in control of my own actions right now. Like, why did
Mhm.
I just pull my phone out of my pocket? I have no idea. And so the first few months, there's a lot of those kind of like light bulb moments where I'm like, why am I scrolling through my camera roll right now? Because I don't have social media. Do I just need to be scrolling all the time? Um, and so I think it's kind of scary, like when you realize how much it controls our lives. And so yeah, my life feels a lot more like peaceful and free. And I think it's a good exercise. Not, I don't think everyone needs to delete their social media, but I do think like digital detoxes and taking time off and setting really intentional boundaries around it is important.
Yeah, I think being intentional is probably the most important. I definitely, while I was at Panera that day, my phone was dead, and I caught myself multiple times and just to see nothing on my phone. Like my phone was
Yeah.
dead and I was whipping it out just to
Yep.
see a
That's how
black
it
screen,
goes.
and I was like, "Oh my, what am I fucking doing?" Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've seen an app where I think probably the best app I've seen that helps with actually intention is like this app where you have to like hold down the screen for like 15 seconds or so before you actually enter the app. So you can't just instantly get on Instagram and do it. You have to like do it intentionally. And that has a solid barrier to entry. But yeah, interesting. So what I'm also curious, so when did you sell Shop Genie?
October of last year.
Okay. And so do you have any stake in it at this point?
Not in ShopGenie, no, but I do still work at the acquiring company as of right now. So I'm helping the team with the transition and working on a few internal projects there. But yeah, fully divested from ShopGenie.
Okay. And what prompted that decision, firstly?
Yeah. So it was kind of it was just kind of a perfect storm of things. It was the company that bought us was a large payment processor, point of sale system in the industry.
Mhm.
And they were thinking about going into the marketing CRM side of the business. And they were either going to build it internally in house, or they were going to buy us or one of our competitors. And so it was a really logical decision for my co-founder and I. It was like, hey, we don't want to compete with these guys. And they made us an offer that we can't refuse. And it was really as simple as that. We didn't think about it too much. We knew that it was the right decision when it came across our desk. And so we took it.
Okay, that makes sense. And then my follow up is then now that you've sold it, do you know what you're gonna do with your life?
I don't. And that's okay. I think a lot of founders post exit deal with the same problem. It's like a bit of an identity crisis, and they're not really sure what to do next. And it's something that I've struggled with the last 7 months, but I think you just kind of have to sit in it, and you kind of just have to let ideas come to you and give back and do things like this podcast and talk about things. And I think actually one of the best ways to sharpen your sword and, you know, discover what you're really passionate about and what you want to do next is actually my teaching. So it's why I came to Cornell and did those guest
Mhm.
lectures. And, you know, it's why I do podcasts like this from time to time, is because talking about these things out loud is a great way, again, to stay sharp, but then also to discover in your own mind what you might actually be interested in doing next. So that's why I do these types of things.
Do you foresee yourself stopping entrepreneurship? Like, did you ever have a number in mind where you're like, all right, once I get there, I guess I could just stop?
No, I think I love the game too much. Like,
Hmm.
I do think there will come a time where I won't have a desire to operate a company anymore, like day to day, which is extremely taxing. I'm not quite there yet. I think I could do at least one more, um, because I do love the chaos of running a startup. Um, but yeah, I don't think I'll ever be done like building businesses and doing deals. I love the game and chase way too much to just stop cold turkey.
Yeah. It's so funny because I've heard the same thing from pretty much every person I've had on this podcast. I've never talked to someone, they're like, yeah, and then I made 10 million and then I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Every single one of them is like, yeah, I do it because I like doing it. And so like
Yeah.
I always think about that because I feel like there's a lot of people that think that sometimes I don't know that maybe entrepreneurs or capitalists are like ruled by greed, but really it's kind of just like a hobby, like anything else for a lot of people, like a really
Yeah.
really intense obsession or hobby, and it's really not about the ultimate money you can make in the end. It's about like pursuing the pursuing scale essentially.
And any goal that you set in your own mind just becomes your new normal, right?
Hmm.
And it's like anything in life, right? You become good at a skill, that's your new baseline, right? You get into an Ivy League school, it's like, great, that's your new baseline. Now I got to go get good grades at the Ivy League school. It's like
Hmm.
you always create another level above wherever you are. And that's just human nature. Humans are not meant to just be satisfied and docile and subordinate, right? Like when you make a lot of money, it's really cool at first, but then it very quickly just becomes your new baseline and you're looking to what's next. And this goes
Hmm.
for every level. You make your first $10,000 online, you make your first million, your first 10 million, whatever it is. You just simply look to the next milestone after a certain amount of time. It's just kind of what happens.
What was the most exciting for you though?
In what sense?
Like which milestone did you hit and you were like, oh my god, like that's actually that what which milestone felt like the most amount of money?
If I'm being honest, it was when I was 17 years old, living at home, when I made like when I had like 10 grand in my bank account for the first time. And I was like, wow, like I could do anything. Like I have no you know, overhead. I have no rent to pay. Like I'm living at home with my parents still in high school. And I really do think in your like teens and early 20s, get like having 6 to 12 months of living expenses saved up and like making your first $10,000 in a month is one of the most life-changing things that can happen to you. And I will confidently tell you, at like making millions of dollars does not feel as exciting as that first 10 grand, that first even 20 or 50 grand that
Mhm.
you make in your early entrepreneurial career. That is really, truly life changing. Like your lifestyle doesn't really exponentially increase beyond that. You can afford nicer things or whatever, but if you're making ten to $20,000 a month, especially with like no kids and like low overhead, you can fly business class, you can eat really nice meals, you can Uber Eats to your house whenever you want without thinking about it. You can live in a nice place, you can drive a nice car, like, and all of those things, even if you make millions of dollars, they're not really going to change that much.
Mhm. Yeah. I think for me, the most exciting thing I've got to so far was like because one of my biggest goals in entrepreneurship is or so you know what like the whole fire movement is. Have you heard of
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like reaching your financial independence number, which is like
Yeah.
when you can, you can live passively for the rest of your life, basically,
Yeah.
draw 3%, whatever. That is one of my goals. Not that I'll ever like want to stop working necessarily, but just that I always want that option. And so figuring out how to make the income as passively as I can was like one of the most important things to me. And for me, one of the ones that's worked most effectively is affiliate marketing softwares. And like I think we're probably both really big fans of software for this exact reason. But
Ah,
at least for me with affiliate marketing, if you get someone to sign up for a software, a lot of them have indefinite recurring commission.
yeah.
So I made a video. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
My advice on passive income is, especially if you're talking about fire, if you
Mm,
want to make a lot of passive income, don't worry about passive income. Make a lot of
mm,
active income. Um, the best way to make passive income is to accumulate lots of wealth and then invest it and let the investments make passive income. I think people get too focused on the shiny objects of like, what can I make passive income on today? And I
mm,
think in that sense, like there is no passive income if it's something that you have to like set up and continue to work on. Um, the only real passive income in life is dividends, interest, and real estate. Like it's very hard to make. It's not impossible to make passive income outside of those kind of main three things.
mm.
Like even the affiliate stuff, like that affiliate company could go under. Like there's so many things that could happen
True.
um, that would mess up that idea of passive income.
True. I guess it's definitely not anywhere near as safely passive as, a 3% dividend from an index is. But at least for my eyes, at least at that point, it's like, well, what happened essentially is I made a video that was like optimized for YouTube search. So it was getting a bunch of traffic every single month from people looking up a question and getting the answer to it with my video. And I saw like how much money I was making from the affiliate tool. And like it was like the third month, I think, or something, where it got up to like 250. It went from like $60 the first month, $99 the second, 250 the third. And I forgot about the video that I posted. And I was like, wait, what is happening? And then I realized like, wait, this is all coming as affiliate from that video I made on search. And yeah, that just kept going up month after month. It's at like 2K a month now that I've
That's awesome.
low I know, it's like I've low key forgot about the video that I posted and it got to that point. Now again, yeah, I definitely agree with you, not like the super safest solidest stream of passive income, but the fact that I haven't had to work, for me that was like one of the most exciting
Yeah,
things that I've got.
yeah, absolutely, man. Again, I think in your 20s, you should be focused on making the most amount of money actively or passively. It doesn't matter. You should be focused
Regardless, yeah.
on accumulating wealth because you can create passive income with that
Mm.
wealth. And that's the most powerful position you can be in.
Okay, cool. I like to end off podcasts in like the most fun way possible. So tell me about your NFT journey.
Oh, NFTs. Uh, yeah, I had a couple buddies that did some NFT projects. And so I never like started an NFT project or promoted one or any of that stuff, but it was a market like any other market. And I had some buddies that had like insider access to some projects. And so I bought like on the drop, I bought some NFTs that ended up being worth a lot of money and I sold them like at the peak of the hype cycle. Yeah, and made like a decent amount of money doing that. So it was never like a primary source of income or
Oh,
anything for
okay.
me. And that money I probably ended up losing most of it because I just reinvested it back into different crypto projects. But yeah, I mean anybody who made any money in NFTs knows how crazy that time was in 2021. Um, and money was just flying everywhere. So that was fun. And yeah, it was a crazy time.
So cryptos, NFTs, like meme coins, would you consider
Yeah,
this an advisable investing strategy?
absolutely not. Never do any of that kind of stuff with money you can't afford to lose. Um, it's always like a very small percentage of my like total net worth that I will let myself light on fire and trade
Mm.
meme coins with. So
Do you actively invest the rest?
I passively invest the rest.
Or yeah, okay. So
Yeah, so
you're
you're
an
talking about
S&P 500 type guy.
yeah. The majority of my money is just in like municipal bonds and money market accounts and like very basic, boring stuff. And then I have like a little tiny piece of money that I play around with on Robinhood and MetaMask and all these different things. So
Well, that sounds fun. But as you said, it seems like the boring methods are probably the most effective.
yeah,
Kieran, thank you so much for taking the time and hopping on the podcast. We'll leave the link to your YouTube channel in the description, if you ever start that personal brand. And yeah, thanks so
cool.
much.
Thanks for having me.
Peace.